We're here, Joe. We did it.
Yeah, we did. Somehow.
Welcome to all of you. I don't know how we did it, but here we are. We've been talking about doing this for a long time. We have been talking about doing a podcast called the CHD Podcast. Here we are. This is our inaugural episode. And I am Anna Jaworski. Many of you may know my voice from Heart to Heart with Anna. And I have with me my co-host.
I'll introduce myself. I'm Joe Flowers. Y'all may not know my voice. You'll get to know it. I apologize for that.
No apology.
I am a heart warrior.
For those of you who don't know Joe Flowers, because you didn't listen to the episode of Heart to Heart with Anna, where I introduced you to him, I put the link to that show in the show notes. So that'll be another way for you to get to know Joe Flowers, heart warrior, Austinite, dad,
Yes.
teacher. He is a man who wears many hats.
I also have many hats.
Yes, you do. And then there's little Anna Jaworski, former teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing, heart mom to a heart warrior, and author, publisher, and podcast host. So here we are doing the CHD podcast, and we're really excited because this is going to be completely different. This is all about CHD conversations, but we're going to be doing things a little differently. We're going to be having not only conversations with the two of us or a guest, but we're going to have some town hall meetings. So I'm going to run down what our schedule is for the upcoming year, and Joe
Perfect.
will add his 2 cents. I'm going to let you all know, poor Joe, we think he has the flu. So he'll be doing more talking in subsequent episodes. But for today, I'm giving him a break because he hasn't been feeling good and he's coughing. But we really wanted to get this out in the universe, and we wanted to start in January. And guess what? Today is the last day in January 2023. So it was do it or don't do it. And we decided to do it.
We're going to do it.
We're doing it. We're doing it. So we are going to have 6 interviews in 2023 and 6 town hall meetings. And we're super excited about the town hall meetings because that will be a chance for our patrons to come in and actually have a discussion with us. And we're super excited about that because we're going to talk about some different kinds of topics that don't lend themselves necessarily to just an interview. But by having a group together, we'll be able to get a lot of different opinions, a lot of different experiences. And I think it's going to be a rich opportunity for us to get to know other members of the CHD community. But we're starting January with this little episode. We just wanted to introduce ourselves to you and introduce the podcast. You'll have to wait until February 15th to hear the next episode. But what's super cool about that episode is that we will be talking to Rita Scoggins, Victoria Scoggins, and Heidi Scoggins, and it's all about Heart Month. And these ladies have done something special about Heart Month. What was really cool is we're talking to a heart mom, 2 heart warriors, and how CHDs have affected this family. So I think you all are really going to love the show. It's very uplifting to talk to these women, and I can't wait to introduce all of you to the Scoggins. Then in March, we'll be doing another interview. What's really cool about this is something I have wanted to do, Joe, for years. It's all going to be about history of CHDs and CHD surgery. And I'm hoping to entice a couple of really awesome doctors to come on and talk to me about the history of CHD. For those of us living in the CHD community, we throw out terms like Fontan operation, tetralogy of Fallot, and Norwood procedure. But who is Fallot, Fontan, and Norwood? We'll get a chance to find out in that episode. April will be our very first town hall meeting. And what we're excited about is the theme for that, and it's called Feeling Different. And the funny thing is, I think everybody feels different, especially if you're a teenager. Even if you're
Yep.
not. Don't we all go through a period where we feel different? Well, we're going to talk about what that means. And especially when you are a heart warrior, because I think for the heart moms, I think for heart grandmas, I think for heart warriors, when you're living with a life of CHD, you feel different. And a lot of times, those in
Yeah,
your family and those friends, they just don't get it. So, all of us who will be in the town meeting, we will get it, won't we, Joe?
we will. There's a lot of different stories out there.
There really are, and I think that's gonna be a really fun town meeting to start with. I think it's something everyone will relate to. In May, we're gonna have a really awesome episode with 2 single moms talking about what it's like to be a single mom during May, which of course is known for Mother's Day, and how people can help single moms, especially when they're living with congenital heart disease. I think that one you don't wanna miss. We have 2 terrific ladies. We have
Okay.
Anita Moreno Marcelo, who is a friend of mine for over 2 decades. And then also Misty O'Leary, who is also a dear lady who was on Heart to Heart Within in the past. I get a chance to catch up with her again. Oh my gosh, it's been like 7 years since I talked to her. So wait until you hear that episode. I get a chance to meet a new member of her family, and it's really a cool episode. Then in June, it's the dad's turn, right? So May, we focus on the moms. In June, we're going to focus on the dads. And that'll be a fun interview where we talk with some heart dads and some heart warrior dads about being a dad and living with congenital heart disease. Then in July, we'll have a new town hall meeting, and that one will be about faith and religion. And I'm really hoping we get some people of all different kinds of faiths and religions, don't you, Joe?
Absolutely. I think faith and religion plays a big part in walking through the complications that CHD brings about. And
Yeah.
there are so many different religions out there, and it's all enmeshed politically right now.
Yeah. This content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The opinions expressed in the podcast are not those of Hearts Unite the Globe, but of the hosts and guests, and are intended to spark discussion about issues pertaining to congenital heart disease or bereavement.
You are listening to the CHD Podcast. If you have a question or comment that you would like addressed on our show, please send an email to joe@thechdpodcast.com or anna@thechdpodcast.com.
In August, we're going to host another town hall meeting, and that one, oh my goodness, again, a topic everyone will be able to relate to: survivor's guilt, PTSD,
Oh
mental
boy.
health, and depression, which unfortunately, that is something that far too many of our community members can relate to. We want to talk about it not just to complain that these things happen, but to, first of all, pay credence to the fact that they happen, but then also to get some tips from those of you who listen to the show. What can we do to help people who are dealing with these conditions? So please, if you're interested in being in that town hall meeting, we'll tell you in just a minute how you can be involved as well. In September, here we go, another town hall meeting, this one on another difficult topic: divorce. Divorce and relationships in the CHD community. It happens with us. It happens in the population at large, but it also
Yes.
happens in the CHD community. And I don't know that I've ever seen a study to show if the statistics are higher, but logic would tend to make you feel that I bet the statistics are higher in the CHD community than in the population at large. But I've never seen any stats. Have you, Joe?
I have not seen any stats.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens as far as that town hall meeting. It'll be interesting to see if we get people who are divorced, people who are married, and can talk about what it was like to maintain their marriage. I know my husband and I certainly did face some really steep challenges. And I will be honest, I wondered if my marriage would survive yet another congenital heart surgery, and we'll talk more about that in September. Now, in October, we're going to take a break from the town hall meetings. We'll be doing an interview with an expert on vaccines, and that is something that has caused a lot of controversy in our community. And I'm hoping that by October, we have a few more studies that have been done on these COVID vaccines, and we have a few more answers about the COVID vaccines. But this will be about vaccines in general, not just the COVID vaccines, because that is really controversial. And that's not the point of this. The point of this will be talking about the value of vaccines in the CHD community. Then in November, we'll be having a very interesting town hall meeting. Look, folks, we chose topics that we hope will be of interest to you. So bullying will be what
Okay.
we talk about in November. Definitely something that many of us have suffered from, whether it's being bullied because we're being quote unquote overprotective of our heart
Mm-hmm.
warriors, or
Yep.
whether you are the heart warrior who's being bullied because you can't keep up with your peers. Bullying comes around so many ways and shapes and forms. And sadly, there's a lot of cyberbullying that goes on as well, even in our tight knit community. So let's talk about bullying. I'm hoping to invite an expert who I love, who's also an author and part of the Heart Community Collection. Tune in to hear more about this later, but that will be our November show. And then in December, we'll end out the year by having our last town hall meeting. And this one's going to be so much fun, isn't it, Joe? It's all about the
It will be.
holidays. We'll be
Yeah.
talking about holiday traditions, but also in the spirit of living with CHD, we're going to be talking about what
Yes.
happens when you're spending the holidays in the hospital. And what happens when you can't have those big family gatherings during the holidays? So it'll be an opportunity for us to share advice with one another, share some of our experiences, and who knows, maybe even a recipe or two. What do you think, Joe?
I love it. It sounds exciting. It sounds like something that our community can really bite into.
I think so too. So, how can you get involved? How can you be part of our town hall meeting? Super easy. Just become a patron. Just make a donation to Heart Unite the Globe. That's a nonprofit organization that pays all the bills. You can do that for as little as $2 a month, friends, with the Patreon program, or you can set up a recurring PayPal gift. So it won't cost you very much, but it will be a way for you to help us, to help the heart community. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking for people to get involved. We could definitely use people to help us with social media, getting the word out about this program. We would love to have some additional people who would like to be a producer or maybe even a script
Definitely.
writer. Yeah, we're definitely looking for some volunteers to help us out. We'll also be planning what's going to happen in 2024. So if you like what we're planning on doing here and you want to be involved, just reach out to Joe Flowers or Anna Jaworski on Facebook
Hmm.
or on LinkedIn. What about you, Joe? Tell us where people can mostly find you, Joe. Where do you hang out?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter as well, at JRF616. And that should link you right to Twitter as well as Instagram.
We'll put our links in the show notes so you guys can connect with us. And Joe and I are going to even make the CHD podcast page on Facebook. So that'll be another way
Yes.
you can connect to us. You'll be enjoying the music from Miles Schweitzer and the Wild Moose Man Band. Thank you, Miles, for providing the wonderful music for us. And we are using a logo I created. Lauren England has been teaching me about how to make good logos. And I'm super excited with how this logo came out. Thanks to app.logo.com. We ended up making a really cool logo and we're super excited about it. So be listening, tuning in. Please give suggestions and comments. And this is the place for CHD conversations. That's all for today.
Thank you for joining us today on the CHD Podcast. Stay tuned for more shows coming in the months ahead.
Thank you again for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed this conversation and that you'll tune in for our future podcasts. The CHD Podcast can be heard wherever you get your podcasts, and the next episode will be released at noon CT on February 15th, 2023.